Hello and welcome to the Paper Jam Podcast and Internet Broadcast. I am Kate the Great, and today we're going to talk about Rastafari and Zion. And when Rastas speak about Zion, what does that mean? And does it have any relationship to Zionism as we know Zionism? The short answer is no. You guys have a great rest of your day. I'm kidding. Anyway, let's break her down a little bit, okay? So, Rastafari is a Abrahamic belief. You can call it a religion, you can call it a way of life. Uh, there are different sects in Rastafari belief. Nyabingi Bobo Shanti and the 12 tribes of Judah. Zionism is the idea that there should be the establishment of a Jewish homeland, specifically in historic Palestine. Rastafari is, I call it a religion, but it's also, it's really like a way of life. It is, if we're speaking in religious point of view, it's Abrahamic. It is, just like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, followers of Abraham. The belief that, in Rasta belief, that Jesus Christ was God incarnate. And also, in terms of Rasta belief, the belief that Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia was also divinely sent from God. Some Rastas believe that he was the second coming of Christ. Others believe he was like a divine entity, but not necessarily the second coming of Christ. Okay, so it is said, well, hang on, I have 1,000 thoughts. Marcus Garvey was a Pan-Africanist, Jamaican-born civil rights leader from Jamaica, spoke about repatriation, or the return to Africa. He, again, was a civil rights leader, and he said, and I wish I could tell you better. If I find it, I'll insert it somewhere. Where he said this, or when he said this, if it was in a speech, if he wrote it, I'm not sure. But Garvey said, and he's seen as, Garvey prophesied, look to the east. When a black king is crowned, your day of deliverance is at hand. Therefore, when Selassie was crowned, this was seen as a fulfilling of Garvey's prophecy. Haile Selassie was the final emperor of Ethiopia. Ethiopia is the only country in Africa that was never colonized. Italy tried their best, but did not succeed, and Selassie was like in charge during, I believe, the second Italo-Ethiopian War. So this is seen as the battle between Zion and Babylon. Zion, in a broad sense, is godly living, is like heavenly living. If they were to say what place on earth is Zion, it's Ethiopia. Babylon, they're not talking about Iraq. Babylon is the West. It's Western influence. Let me stick a pin. Pause real quick. Please take everything. Don't let me be your only source of knowledge on this. At the end of the day, I'm a white lady Babylonian. You know what I'm saying? I'm a white bitch from the United States. Like, do other research as well. But I've always been fascinated by it. Whatever. So, yes, when they say about like chant down Babylon, it's Western influence. It's colonialism. So, inherently, Zionism is at odds with Rastafari belief. because Rastafari belief is anti-colonial. It is a rejection of all like Western influence, colonial influence, white man influence, essentially, and a full embracing of one's blackness. In my opinion, I think Rastafari is a little like kind of a closed practice. I think it's perhaps a bit goofy when white people say that they're Rastas. But that's just me and my Caucasian opinion. Like, what the fuck do you need? You got enough, white. Sit down. Fuck, you need to be a Rastafari. So that you can wear your locks. Your hair doesn't even naturally do that, cracker. Anyway, sorry. So, Selassie it was a monarchy. So, like, his father's father, da, 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 da. His lineage is, he's thought to be a descendant of King Solomon and King David. So having a direct tie to the biblical land and the Bible. Selassie. His name at birth was Tafari McKinnon. Ras in Amharic. Right? Amharic or Aramaic. One of them was spoken by Jesus, the other one is still spoken in Ethiopia. Dang. Both are Semitic languages. I think Amharic. In Amharic, Ras is like the duke, the head, the head of the thing. So that's where Ras Tafari came from. He was born Tafari McKinnon, but then upon his coronation, becoming the, how you call her, of Ethiopia, emperor of Ethiopia, was given the name Haile Selassie I. Okay? So you will also perhaps hear Rastas use I talk. So not education, education. Things like that. The diet is called Aital, largely based off of like similar, it's kind of like halal or kosher, except there's a lot of Rastas who don't eat meat. They're vegetarian. No alcohol. Typically wear their hair just freeform locks, a rejection of Western beauty standards. And again, quoting scripture, the same scripture that like when Jewish folks have the two curls on the side. Can't remember what they're called. Is it tzitzit? Or are those the things on the side of the pants? You know what I'm saying. About just like being in your natural state, in your godly state. I is said, and it is the belief of God within each person, that God exists within all people. This idea is not necessarily, isn't exclusive to Rastafari. Quakers, if I'm not mistaken, believe a similar thing. I'm not sure what it's called. I'm sure the Quakers weren't like, I person, when they churn bottle, but it's like the same idea, same concept of like the goodness, the godness exists within all of us. What else do I have to tell you? I misspoke. It's not the 12 tribes of Judah. It's the 12 tribes of Israel. The message of Rastafari was being preached and spoken on before the 1948 Zionist Declaration of Israel. So when they say the 12 tribes of Israel, they're referencing Jacob, biblical. You get it. God willing, you get it. The reason I got confused and said Judah is because Haile Selassie is sometimes referred to as the Iron Lion of Judah, the Lion of Judah, conquering Lion of Judah. The song Iron Lion, or Iron like the Lion in Zion, is a song about Selassie. The flag that you will see associated with Rastafari is the colors of the Ethiopian flag, red, green, and gold, with the conquering lion in the center of the flag. Another person who is important to Rastafari is a man called Leonard Howell. He really started like preaching. He was from Jamaica, but then lived in the States for a while, heard Garvey speaking, and was associated with Garvey's movement. What was it called? It's 4 letters. I can't remember what it's called. But he had heard Garvey speak and then came back to Jamaica and was essentially preaching the message of Rastafari. He was a problem in Jamaica at the time. Jamaica was still a British colony. Like when my mom was born in Jamaica and came here when she was a little girl. Her mother, my grandma, was born and lived in Jamaica until she was like 50 something. Like when my grandma was, the majority of my grandma's time in Jamaica, if I'm not mistaken, it was like the vast majority, if not like half-ish, was under British colonialism, where it was very much, don't challenge authority, don't challenge the status quo of anything. And that is exactly what Rastafari is a rejection of all of that. And a challenging of all of that, challenging of colonialism. He established like a Rasta community. You can call it like a maroon kind of community in the hilly area, the mountainous area of Jamaica, which was kind of like off grid. It was called Pinnacle. Also raided all the time and everything. Oh, they're smoking reefer. Who gives a fuck? But mostly because they're not being like, subservient. What is central to the Rastafari belief system is anti-colonial, anti-Western, earthly living, a rejection of abusive authoritarian figures, a rejection of a hierarchy, the belief that you don't necessarily need a priest or a preacher to have a relationship to God. There is no need for a middleman or a authority. She stressed. There was just a dog outside, but then the dog got in its car with its owner, and now my dog is like, where did it go? Sorry. Therefore, also, don't say Rastafarianism. Just Rastafari. It's not an ism. So there's one thing that off top makes it different than Zionism. Even think the song Get Up, Stand Up? We sick and tired of the ism, prism. Eso. Not an ism. But much more than, a suffix, the ending. Much more than ism. Is that Zionism is a settler colonial ideology. It is a European ideology. Avi Shlaim is a historian who is Iraqi, if I'm not mistaken. His family is from Iraq and then went to Israel. I don't feel like explaining everything. Israel did a lot of shit to encourage, scare the fuck out of Jewish communities in in the Middle East, in the surrounding areas, upon the establishment of Israel. Israel did a whole bunch of fuckery. For example, I think they bombed some shit in Iraq, scared the hell out of the Jewish community, and then caused the Jewish community to then go to what was now Israel, which had been declared on historic Palestine. Avi Shlaim, Iraqi Jew, who then went to Israel, and I think that's where he spent the tremendous majority of his life. His mother said to him, Zionism is a European thing. That's not like a Jewish thing. Rastafari is a rejection of any kind of Babylonian ideology, any kind of Western colonial ideology. When If a Rasta speaks about repatriation to Africa or to Ethiopia, it's not coupled with the extermination of the population that's there. You understand? Zionism is. Zionism was turn Palestine into a Jewish homeland, void of Palestinian, without Palestinians. This was Albert Einstein's problem with it, and why he didn't. Einstein was a Zionist before the idea of Zionism got off paper. When Zionism was proposed as the establishment of a Jewish homeland, Einstein said, "Cool, sounds great." When it was proposed to create this Jewish homeland on or in historic Palestine without the consultation of Palestinians, Einstein said, "Wait, what the fuck? No, 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 no. Now this is just colonialism. Now you just, what? Like, you can't do that." So true, Bert. Um, so, yeah, it's not that. I have seen or heard of, there's one person coming to mind who is a Jewish guy who makes music and very much tries to do so. The music he makes is very like biting reggae style. And I feel like there is a conflation of like Zion and Zion, also justice for everybody who is named Zion after the Lauren King. Excuse what? For everyone who is named Zion after the Lauryn Hill song, and now you're like, fuck, not that Zion, Ethiopia Zion. That's what she was talking about, bro. By the way, was like again like a Black Power Zion, Ethiopia. But okay, but the ideology behind it, all over the fucking place. Ideology behind that, Zion and Babylon, is like heaven versus hell, kind of. Um. So yeah, nothing to do with Zionism or modern day Israel. Mm-mm. Not this. Not that. What else do I have to tell you? The way of living that is a rejection of Western influence and capitalist things and a rejection of Babylonian shit is called levity. The way of living, keeping an idle diet, um, just consuming things from the earth, which is why marijuana isn't like frowned upon in the practice the way alcohol is. Similarly, marijuana as a means to allow how do I want to say this? Because there is no middleman, you don't need a priest or a preacher to allow any kind of divine conversation to occur between oneself and God. And you overstand. Overstand is also, I bite that shit from, that's Rasta talk. Girl, I know I'm all over the damn place, but here's tea. For the past weekish, I'm writing something to do with evangelism in the United States South, the Bible Belt area. But I noticed that my last video I had posted was like a week ago, Bobby Shmurda. And I don't know how long I'm going to be writing and doing all this stuff, RE the Bible Belt. So I needed to post something. And I know that I can wax poetic about Rastafari for a little bit. So here's this. What else do I have to tell you? Let me look. Marcus Garvey. This is my whiteboard. Marcus Garvey, I told you. Leonard Howell, I told you. Selassie, I talk, I and I, Zion, Babylon. Abrahamic faiths. Yeah, man. I'm gonna rewatch all this and see if I really need to add anything or whatever. Have a great week. Be nice to each other. I know this is a short episode, but I think I got my message across. Be blessed, and I'll see you in episode Wave. One last thing, real quick. I haven't even gone through and watched the shit yet, but here's this. If you see Rastas have like the Star of David or things like this, again, how do I want to word this without getting too deep into the weeds? Or you ever heard of Black Hebrew Israelites? The idea that, like, you know, the real Jews are African, then they come from Africa and thing like that. It's a similar belief system, like that, or like this. That's the same reason you would see the Star of David. There's two workmen walking past my house right now. You can go. Yeah, it's not like a declaration of standing with a nation that was declared a thing in 1948. You understand? I'm gonna leave that at that. Okay, bye.